Our movie begins with Pauline driving to their new home along with her two daughters, Beth and Vera. During the road trip, Beth reads out loud from her latest horror story. She's a passionate writer with dreams of becoming a famous author. Pauline is fully supportive, praising the story and encouraging her. But Vera isn't impressed. She tells her mother she's only saying that because she's her daughter. Pauline quickly shuts that down and asks Vera to keep quiet. Just then, they notice a strange truck following them closely. The vehicle gets so near that the people inside wave at them, but their faces are hard to make out. Pauline doesn't seem bothered and keeps driving. Later that evening, they stop at a gas station. Beth goes into the small market next to it to pick up some supplies. The cashier asks her to wait while she finishes something. As Beth stands around, she spots the same truck parked right outside, but again she brushes it off. Inside, her attention shifts to an old newspaper with a chilling headline: a notorious serial killer nicknamed the Family Butcher is on the loose. According to the article, he has already murdered 5 families, always killing the parents and keeping the children, especially girls, alive, torturing them and forcing them to live with him. Just then, Vera walks in and sees Beth reading the article. Beth shares what she's learned, but Vera laughs it off, insisting it's just another made-up story. That's when Pauline walks in and hurries them out. They finally arrive at their destination, an old, eerie house filled with antique dolls and toys in every corner. We find out that this was their late aunt's home, who passed away years ago. She was a doll maker, and the house has been abandoned since her death. As they settle in, Beth suddenly feels unwell and starts crying. Pauline tries to comfort her, but Vera mocks Beth for overreacting. Later, Pauline takes Vera aside and asks her to be more supportive. Vera vents her frustration, saying she doesn't understand how Beth can be obsessed with horror stories and live in this fantasy world where she's a famous writer giving interviews. At that moment, it becomes clear, Vera is jealous. She feels overshadowed by her sister. Pauline gently reminds her that Beth isn't her rival, she's her sister. She reassures Vera that she loves both of them equally, then walks away, leaving Vera to reflect. Things take a dark turn when the same mysterious truck from earlier suddenly pulls up in front of their house. There's clearly something sinister about it, but we don't know what, not yet. Inside, Pauline receives a call from a friend, but the voice on the other end is garbled. Then the call suddenly cuts off. That's when it happens. A huge, deformed man bursts in and slams Pauline into the wall, knocking her out cold. As she falls, he notices a small porcelain doll nearby, picks it up, and begins sniffing it in a disturbingly affectionate way. Moments later, Beth and Vera rush into the house after hearing their mother scream. They freeze when they see the monstrous man standing over her. Terrified, they try to run, but he catches them both, dragging them by their hair. Just then, a terrifying woman steps out of the truck. Now it's clear, these two, the monstrous man and the creepy woman, were the ones following them all along. The giant man hauls the girls into the basement. He picks up Beth first, lifts her off the ground, and sniffs her the same way he did the doll. Displeased, he throws her to the floor. Then he turns to Vera, and unfortunately he likes what he smells. He grabs her and takes her deeper into the dark basement. Desperate to save her sister, Beth scrambles to her feet, but before she can act, the terrifying woman appears and knocks her out. Suddenly, Pauline regains consciousness and rushes in. A brutal fight breaks out between her and the woman. Pauline fights with everything she has, managing to knock her attacker unconscious, but not without taking serious damage herself. She's badly injured and bleeding. Beth, terrified for her mother, tries to help, but Pauline urges her to run. Instead, Pauline grabs a sharp tool and stabs the monstrous man repeatedly, making sure he's dead. But the woman regains consciousness and lunges at her. Pauline turns and drives the blade into her neck, finally ending the nightmare. Then, Beth wakes up screaming. It was all just a dream, or was it? We find out that Beth is now an adult, and a successful horror author. Her husband comforts her as she struggles to shake off the recurring nightmare, which, we learn, is based on a real event. That horrifying night actually happened years ago. And while Beth moved away and built a life for herself, her mother Pauline and sister Vera still live in the same house where it all went down. That evening, Beth and her husband watch one of her old interviews on TV. But the calm doesn't last. Her phone rings. It's Vera, panicked and screaming. She begs Beth to come home immediately. Before Beth can ask what's wrong, the call cuts out. Beth frantically tries to call her back. No answer. She calls their mother. Still no answer. Fearing the worst, she makes a decision. The next day, Beth returns to the old house. When she finally sees her mother again, it's emotional. It's been years since they last saw each other. But something's off. Whatever is happening in that house may not be over yet. Beth tells her mother about the disturbing phone call from Vera, but Pauline drops a bombshell. Ever since the incident, Vera's been hallucinating. Before they can process it, a chilling scream echoes from the basement. They both rush downstairs, searching the dark cellar. Eventually, they find Vera trembling and hiding in a corner, still screaming even after they reach her. It's clear Vera's mental state has only worsened over the years, and Beth is devastated by how broken her sister has become. They stay with Vera until she calms down, then all fall asleep. But in the middle of the night, Beth is awakened by strange noises in her room. She cautiously looks around, and then a terrifying porcelain doll appears and drags her toward a dark void. Beth suddenly jolts awake. It was a nightmare. But something's not right. On the mirror, written in condensation, is a single word, "Help me." Shaken, Beth believes Vera is reaching out for help. She heads to the basement and finds Vera cradling a disturbingly lifelike doll sobbing. Vera confesses through tears that the giant man and the terrifying woman visit her every night, torturing her. Suddenly, they hear something moving outside in the yard. Vera panics and tells Beth they're back. She recognizes the sound of their truck. She runs to hide before they come for her again. Beth, still skeptical, steps outside to investigate, and sees a black dog staring at her. Frozen in fear, she watches until Pauline appears and shoos it away. That night, Beth sees the same word, "Help me," appear again on the mirror. Determined, she goes to check on Vera, and finds her sister shackled to the bed in handcuffs and chains. Her face is painted eerily like a doll. Horrified, Beth asks who did this to her, but Vera remains silent. Beth tries to free her but can't break the chains. She runs out to find something to help, but as soon as she leaves, the bedroom door slams shut, trapping Vera inside. Beth hears her screaming, frantically tries to break the door open, but fails. Then, silence. Beth looks through the keyhole, and sees something move rapidly across the room. Terrified, she rushes to wake Pauline and asks for the key to Vera's room, but Pauline calmly says, there is no key. Beth, confused and frightened, runs back to find Vera. But what she sees shocks her to the core. Vera is standing in the hallway, her hair wild, her face bruised and bleeding, moving as if she's being controlled or beaten by someone invisible. Even worse, Beth notices her fingers are twisted and broken. Pauline walks in and tells Vera, I know why you're doing this. Then turns to Beth and adds, I already called an ambulance. I'm going to wait for them by the road. Beth follows her, desperate for answers. But Pauline brushes her off and coldly warns her, don't believe anything Vera says. When Beth returns to the room, Vera is gone. She realizes, Vera must have gone to the basement again, the one place she always hides when she's terrified. Beth follows Vera to check on her, but out of nowhere, the terrifying woman attacks her again. The next morning, Beth wakes up in her bed, drenched in sweat. Another nightmare. But something's off. She looks in the mirror and gasps. Her face is disfigured, just like Vera's. She screams in horror, calling out for her mother, but Pauline is nowhere to be found. Panicked, she runs to the basement and confronts Vera, accusing her of mutilating her face in her sleep so they'd look alike. But Vera denies it, insisting that the deformed woman and the giant man are the real culprits. Beth doesn't believe her, and the argument turns heated. Then Vera snaps, slapping Beth across the face. Through tears, she tells her, you need to stop living in this fantasy. You always run away from the truth. None of this is real, it's all in your head. And that's when the horrifying truth comes out. Vera tells Beth that on the night of the attack, the monstrous woman stabbed Pauline to death. Ever since, Beth's mind has created a fake world where their mother is still alive, a coping mechanism to avoid facing reality. In truth, they've both been trapped in that house, unable to escape. Beth finally breaks down. She screams, cries uncontrollably, and collapses into her sister's arms. Vera holds her tightly, relieved that Beth is finally seeing things for what they are. The next day, Vera wakes Beth in a panic. They're back. She drags Beth into a closet and hides her, begging her to stay quiet. If they find you, don't scream. Don't run. Don't fight. Just stay still. It'll be over faster. She explains that the last time she tried to escape, the punishment was brutal. Crying, she hugs Beth and says goodbye, then locks the closet door behind her. Moments later, the twisted woman finds Beth. Paralyzed with fear, Beth tries to resist, but it's no use. The woman knocks her out cold. When Beth regains consciousness, she's tied to a chair. The woman is applying makeup to her face, turning her into a human doll. Around her, Beth notices newspaper clippings on the walls, clippings about the same criminal duo she read about at the gas station. Now it all makes sense. The terrifying woman and the giant man are part of a sadistic cult, abducting girls and turning them into living dolls. Beth can't move. She's completely helpless as the woman carries her into a room full of dolls. She sets her down among them, arranging her perfectly to blend in. Beth pretends to be unconscious, but her mind is racing. She secretly removes a hairpin from one of the nearby dolls and hides it in her hand, waiting. Suddenly, the giant man enters. He walks among the dolls, murmuring to them. He stops in front of one and asks, why don't you want to be my friend? When the doll, of course, doesn't answer, he lights a match and burns her arm. Now we understand, the man is the deformed woman's son. He's mentally unstable, trapped in a childlike state, and dangerously violent. Beth sits frozen, praying he doesn't choose her. But then, he does. He approaches her, lifts her arm, and takes out a lighter, just like he did before. But at that moment, one of the other dolls falls over, making a loud noise. He turns, distracted. Beth seizes the opportunity. She pulls out the hairpin and drives it into his back. The giant howls in pain and stumbles backward, crashing into the wall of dolls. Suddenly, the dolls around him all begin to laugh. The laughter sends him spiraling. It triggers a memory, his childhood classmates, mocking him for his appearance, laughing at him. That same laughter now fills the room. Enraged, humiliated, broken, he snaps. The giant begins smashing every doll in sight, unleashing his fury on the only things he ever felt connected to. Beth seizes the moment and quietly makes her way toward the door, only to realize it's locked. Before she can react, the giant appears behind her and grabs her by the hair. His intentions are horrifyingly clear. Beth fights back with everything she has. Just when it seems like she's out of options, her hand lands on something familiar, her typewriter. With one desperate swing, she smashes it against his head until he collapses, unconscious. She snatches the key from his pocket, unlocks the door, and tries to escape, but the terrifying woman hears the commotion. Beth knows she doesn't have much time. Quickly, she smashes the window with the typewriter and escapes through the broken glass. She runs to find Vera, grabs her, and the two bolt from the house, sprinting through the woods until sunrise. Just as they're about to collapse from exhaustion, a police car appears on the road. They scream for help. The officer and his partner stop and listen to their frantic story. Vera tells them everything, describing the woman and the giant in detail. The officer radios for backup and gives the house's location, then prepares to head there immediately. But before they can even move, the terrifying woman appears. With ruthless precision, she guns down both officers. Beth and Vera scream in terror, hoping someone, anyone, will hear them. But no one comes. The woman forces them back into her truck and drives them back to the nightmare house. Once inside, Vera notices something terrifying. Beth is completely unresponsive, frozen in place. Her eyes are vacant. Vera realizes what's happening. Beth's mind is breaking again. She's slipping back into that imaginary world she created after the trauma, dissociating from reality. Vera desperately pleads with her to snap out of it, but Beth doesn't move. Meanwhile, the woman arrives at the house, where the giant is already waiting. Inside Beth's fractured mind, we see her living in a fantasy, a grand party celebrating her latest best-selling novel. She's surrounded by fans, family, and friends. Her mother, Pauline, approaches her with a proud smile, whispering, "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." But suddenly, Beth hears a scream, Vera's scream. She follows the sound upstairs, and sees a window. Through it, she glimpses the real world, Vera calling her name, begging for help. Pauline tries to stop her. "Reality is harsh," she says. "You don't need to go back." But Beth makes her choice. She looks her mother in the eyes and says, "I can't leave my sister behind." And she dives through the window of her mind, back into reality. Beth wakes up to find herself being strangled by the giant. She struggles, until a nearby doll suddenly moves and makes a noise. Distracted, the giant turns away, and Beth escapes his grip. She hears Vera's screams and runs to the next room, where the woman is choking her sister. Beth attacks her with brutal force, smashing her head against the floor repeatedly. But the giant returns, ready to strike. Suddenly, bang! A gunshot. The giant falls to the floor, shot by a surviving police officer who arrived just in time. The monstrous woman lunges at him, but he fires again. She drops, lifeless. Vera and Beth are rushed to the hospital. The police and paramedics swarm the scene, thanks to the officer's final radio call before he was attacked. As they're being treated, a paramedic tries to keep Beth conscious. He gently asks what she does for a living. Beth, bloodied but alive, manages a faint smile and replies, "I write horror stories." And just like Beth, sometimes facing reality is the scariest part of all. If you enjoyed the recap, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next twisted tale. Until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and never ignore the voices calling from upstairs.